think that I feel a little bit awkward talking about this because people react a little bit awkwardly to this topic a lot of the times. At least they have in the past. I'm going basically by the way people who know me in real life have reacted to my pictures on Facebook. When people a lot of the time see the pictures of our house on Facebook, not everyone. I mean, a lot of people would be really protective of me because they knew and they got it, or at least they got it as much as they could get it not being in our situation. But some people would see the pictures of our house and react really strongly because, as you know, if you watch our vlog regularly, we kind of live in a fortress. And the reason that we live in a house that is basically secured and locked down like a fortress is because we have an 8.5-year-old who elopes. If you are new to the autism world jargon, eloping is basically when someone runs off. Or at least that's the word that's used a lot of times in autism communities for a lot of times a child or an adult with autism running off. And with Maggie, she just takes off, she runs, she's really fast. When she's running away from us, she's faster than when she's just running with me. She obviously has like an adrenaline rush where she's almost faster than me. I played wing and rugby in college, so I'm pretty fast. I know I'm not as fast as I was back then, but I'm still fairly fast, and she is getting faster and faster every single year. So it is definitely something that concerns me. I know we've been told at school that she has almost outrun her staff when she was insisting on wearing these little party shoes with heels, and they were wearing tennis shoes. Basically, she's really, really fast. And she runs always. There have been times in her life when it's been less, there have been times in her life when it's been more. Right now we're at a more time. And so that's tough, but there's never been a point where it's gone completely away. One of the questions that comes up a lot is, has it been worked with in therapy? They've been working with her on it in therapy since she was 3 years old. So for about 5 years, it's been targeted. And yeah, one of the things that we've done is basically tried to make our house as outwardly secure as possible so that she can have as much freedom as possible within the house to do what she wants inside of the house, kind of Maggie-proof it, so that at least in here and in our yard, she can have an amount of freedom while at the same time protecting from her eloping. And it gets harder and harder because her skill level is always going up and up and up and up. She is really gifted at mechanical things, I guess, at breaking mechanical things, at figuring out how they work and overcoming them. So today I want to take you through what we use right now, and I want to also take you through how we've come to this point because I think it could help other parents who have kids that elope. I also want to talk about the 2 ways that you can approach this. And there's not really a right or a wrong choice. One is probably less expensive than the other, and one is definitely more expensive. The one that we used over the years was more expensive. I think that you can do this either by starting at the level of security that they need and moving it up and up and up as they get better at getting through that level of security. And that's what we did. We started at the locks that she couldn't break through because, I mean, we were buying locks at Home Depot and we didn't think that she would ever get through those locks. I mean, these were locks for grown-ups. We put them at the top of the door. And then she was climbing up there and stacking things and figuring out how to do those locks. And then she was breaking locks into breaking locks off of things, breaking alarms off of things. One way that you can do it is basically just get whatever will work and not go full-blown fortress mode. And the other way is to go full-blown fortress mode at the beginning so that you don't have to buy a little bit and then a little bit and then a little bit. Because let me tell you, we've probably bought 50 gates that got stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger as she broke each one, and that does get expensive. If we had gone straight for the security door, we wouldn't have had to pay for the 50 gates that she broke up until that point, and it would have cost less. But at the beginning, I didn't love the idea of having a security door on our kitchen, and I'm going to get to why it's on our kitchen in a minute, because that's also something that really bothers people a lot of the time. So those are really the two ways that you can go about it. And again, I don't think that there is a right or a wrong answer here. We started out with gates on areas that we wanted to keep her out of, and gates on areas we wanted to keep her in, like a gate on her bedroom door so that she wouldn't leave the house in the middle of the night, because I've heard too many of those stories. You know, a child gets out in the middle of the night in Michigan in winter and that could be a tragedy. Then we went to the monkey door grips that they have on Amazon. I'll put a link down below for anyone who's interested. We used those for a while, and those are something that like pinch the door closed while leaving a little slit. The little door handle knob covers that you pinch to turn, those never worked. She immediately basically grabbed something heavy and smashed them off when she was like 3. I remember once my mom was in a room with her and my mom couldn't get the door to open with the handle cover on, and Maggie just broke it off and opened the door. And that was when she was 3. It was when I was like pregnant with Patrick. She was tiny. No, if I was pregnant with Patrick, she would have been 2. So she's been able to do those since she was 2. Anyways, so I want to explain the kitchen first, because you're going to see the kitchen. On our kitchen now, we have a security locking screen door that my dad installed. It's really not about food. It's about destruction. Everything from turning on the oven, which has happened, not at this house, at our old house, which had a gas oven, so that was even worse, to in the past when we had gates and she got into the kitchen, it wasn't that she would come in to eat, it was that she would come in to satisfy her overwhelming urge for sensory play. And Maggie gets a lot of sensory play in, but it's never enough. Her need for sensory stimulation is higher than there are hours in the day, and so her favorite thing in life would be to come into my kitchen, dump out all the flour, dump out all the sugar. Those things have both happened when she's gotten into my kitchen, and just play in those all over the floor. You might ask why we don't have cupboard locks. We've done that. She can get through those. We have some on our outer cupboards that are out in the dining room, and she breaks into them on a daily basis to get into the stuff that's in there. So cabinet locks just are not, if there's something that we can get into as adults that's a cabinet lock, she is going to be able to get into it. So that wasn't going to happen. I really hated the idea of having like a locking door on the kitchen, and I needed it to be a door that I could see through so that I could actually watch the kids while I was making meals. And that was also at the same time that we put the security cameras up, so I could also see what they were doing on those while I was making meals. I finally came to a conclusion, because we had like this triple gate system thing, double gate system up, and she just started coming up and just hitting it as hard as she could, and it would just fly off. And the back door is made of metal, and it doesn't have a place for a deadbolt on it. She could get out that way too. So there was that. There was the access to the toilet in the back, which when she goes to the bathroom, one of us goes with her, because she loves to flush her mermaid toys down the toilet, because I guess all drains lead to the sea, and we've had many $150 plumber's bills for plumbers to come out and unclog mermaids from the toilet. I even bought my own little snake thing. It did not work. I couldn't get it to work anyways. And so after like the 4th plumber visit, that also became a thing. And so between the sensory play with stuff she found in the cupboards, just destroying things, the oven, and the bathroom, the kitchen became a dangerous off-limits area. And that is why I have that gate on my kitchen, which maybe, I think that's probably extreme. I don't think that's probably necessary for a lot of people. When Maggie asks for food, she gets it. Always. Always, always, always. Because I want that girl to eat. I send her to school with a ton of snacks. She eats so many meals in a day. But the thing is also, a lot of the time she won't eat, and she's picky, and it's hard. So it's not like we have that gate there to keep her away from the food. It's that gate is there to keep her from destroying the kitchen, which she would do sweetly and gleefully and happily. But let me tell you, cleaning up a 5-pound bag of flour or sugar is not fun. And that is probably the one that bothered people the most, when people would see how secure our kitchen was, like in pictures, because it's in the background a lot. They would be really bothered by it. And there were actually a lot of debates on my Facebook page about it, because people would try to give me advice on like how to make it so she would be okay in the kitchen. And it was just kind of like, yeah, or how to make it so we didn't have to take these security measures. And it was like, Not from other special needs parents, obviously. A lot of times I would have other friends who would step in at that point and be like, yeah, I think Cami has it covered. But so for the kitchen, we have the security door. For our outer doors, what you're going to see is that we have double cylinder locks. Double cylinder locks are basically those locks, deadbolts, that you need a key to open them from the outside. Before we got them, we spoke with Maggie's social worker about them because I was stressed about doing that. I didn't like the idea of having to use a key to get out of the house, but I liked the idea of her eloping and getting out of the house less. Finally, that was something that we had to do. The next thing that we did was we removed the window. Our windows are like the crank sort of windows. So once she learned how to unlock the locks that are those kind of locks and uncrank the windows, we undid the crank. We just unscrewed the cranks. Didn't work. Not at all. Because what she did was the very first day she went down there and she twisted the screw with her finger until the window opened. Luckily I saw that happening, put a stop to it. So what Paul did was he got these like handle things, and I'm going to show you a picture of it. So those handles, I think they're intended to actually be handles, but it was something that he got at like Home Depot or Ace that's not expensive, and he uses those to lock down the windows. So our windows can't be open. I don't love that. I wish that when she was at school and I'm cleaning the house, I could open my window and have a nice breeze go through it. But that's not going to happen. And it's more important for her to be safe than for me to have windows that can open. And so that is how we keep our windows closed, because if you saw the video where she ran away and eloped, she got out through one of the windows once. So that was when all the windows got locked down. We have our backyard. Our backyard has a 6-foot tall security fence that goes around it. When we had that built, we had them build it with a frame on the outside so that it was perfectly smooth. She's now rolling things up to it to climb over it. We are going to be taking out the dog run in the coming weeks, and we also are going to be staking down the playhouse so that that can't be rolled up to the sides either. And then there's the cameras. I've done videos before. We have Nest cameras. Those are basically so that I can see what's going on. It alerts me if she goes by the front door, if she does get out that way. It alerts me if she goes by the driveway, and I can peek in if I'm making dinner and she's in the backyard. I can peek out and see what's going on in the backyard and make sure, oh, she's on the swings with her brothers and sisters. They're fine. I can keep cooking. Everything's okay out there. When I have done baby gates, towards the end, I went straight to Amazon, and Amazon has some pretty inexpensive metal baby gates. We started out getting like the wood pressure gates, but those were just way too easy for her to destroy and just absolutely snap into. I mean, I think for about in the $30 range, Amazon has some pretty good metal gates that ultimately she was able to break them, but it took her a really long time before she broke them. And they're a lot less expensive on Amazon compared to some of the other places that sell baby gates that are almost identical to the ones that they have there. As someone who's bought like 40 to 50 baby gates, that is pretty much where I was going to at the end, because we had spent so much on baby gates at that point, and we bought almost every baby gate on the market. The only thing we haven't done yet that I still really want to do is, I think that eventually, unless something changes, we do need an alarm system that's like a formal actual alarm system. We had that at our old house, and the real downside to that was that the control panel on the wall was very appealing to her. We tried putting different boxes over it, and unless it was literally locked with a key, she would find a way to break into it. This is when she was like 4. She would hit the firefighting button and call the firefighters, and I had to so many times talk to them and tell them that it was my daughter who had gotten into the box again to call the firefighters, and she thought it was hysterical. She was tiny. It was so embarrassing. So ultimately, we did put a wooden box over it that was completely and totally sealed, because that's the way you disarm it with the code. We couldn't use the code. We could only use the remotes, and then it just had to be like, you couldn't lose the remote because you were not going to be able to get into the box, because she had called the fire department so many times. And we didn't want to get in trouble for like false alarms to the alarm company. It's always an adventure. The other thing that we do is that most of the individual bedrooms have locks too, so that Sadie keeps her door locked basically all the time. Otherwise, all of our stuff would be destroyed, and our bedroom is locked all day too. Otherwise, my stuff would be destroyed. Our books would be torn apart. I try to give her as much freedom as I can with the common areas, while at the same time giving the other kids the ability to have their own space and basically their own stuff that isn't going to get broken. And since the boys are little and they don't lock their room, they both have like a little cubby in my room where they put their stuff that they want to keep safe. And it's always interesting to see what it is that they brought in there. They've learned really young to bring me stuff and say, keep this from Maggie, because Maggie definitely is a little bit of a pack rat when it comes to finding things that she wants to collect around the house and take back to her room. I don't think that I could have been convinced when she was really small to go all out and totally make our house into a fortress like this, totally make it as Maggie proof as it is now. But at the same time, it's really nice having a house like this with Tessie, because there's nothing Tessie could get into or do really that would cause trouble, because our house is so secure already. And that kind of went for all of the kids. There was never any toddler proofing or baby proofing or anything after Maggie, because our house has been completely like that for years now. That is it for today. If you have any ideas on preventing eloping, I would love to hear them down below. If you like this video, we would love it if you'd give it a thumbs up. And if you're interested in all things autism, we'd love it if you would hit subscribe so you don't miss a thing. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.